A Chinese AI lab, DeepSeek, recently released a new model called R1. This model was so controversial that it wiped about $1 trillion from global markets. The model in question was only supposed to cost about $6 million to build, and some people think it's changed the economics of AI forever. Everyone's asking the same questions. How'd they do it? Why does it matter? And what happens next? Here are the answers you actually need.
Let's talk about DeepSeek because it is mind-blowing and it is shaking this entire industry to its core.
So what is DeepSeek? DeepSeek is a Chinese AI lab owned by a hedge fund called Highflyer. It's a sophisticated language model capable of complex reasoning similar to the latest OpenAI model called O1. It's good, it's Chinese, and it's supposedly built in an incredibly efficient manner. So why do people care if it's Chinese? Well, because there are concerns from Western governments that the Chinese government is using the model to extract sensitive information, and they think that's a security risk. So does R1 store my data? Not necessarily. It's important to remember that this is a program that runs on a computer. If you interact with R1 on the DeepSeek app or on the website, then DeepSeek have your data. And there's a risk then that the Chinese government also do. But there are other ways to interact with the model with greater privacy. R1 is an open source model, which means that you can download the program, and if your computer is sufficiently powerful, you can run it fully privately. The fact that an open source model, which can be downloaded and run on independent infrastructure, outperforms some of the leading closed source models, part of the reason for some of these major disruptions in these big headlines. So how about Meta? Their openness has led to a massive democratization of AI, and their research has actually provided the foundations for much of DeepSeek's work. So if DeepSeek is so open, why do people care how the model was built? Firstly, they care because part of the process to build this model was much more efficient than usual. Conventionally, when you train a large language model, you have two phases, pre-training and post-training. Pre-training is about setting up the foundations, and post-training is where the models are sculpted to behave in really specific ways. To build R1, DeepSeek first underwent some pretty interesting pre-training to build the base model called DeepSeek v3 Base. It's claimed that this model was built for around 5.328 million USD, which is what they quote in the paper. In terms of learning capability and pushing the frontiers of AI, this also isn't the phase where the model gets its reasoning from. Regardless, there are some notable efficiencies in the way that DeepSeek configured their NVIDIA hardware, such that they get serious efficiency improvements in this stage. Comparing capability on just GPU hours alone, assuming all else is equal, we're looking at about a 10x efficiency gain versus models like Meta's top-of-the-line Llama model. The efficiency gain matters because it indicates the required amount of GPUs to make models is going to decrease over time. The idea is that NVIDIA and other chip manufacturers are going to be in less demand, which led to their stock falling over 16% on this news. Remember the owner of DeepSeek? Highflyer, a Chinese quantitative hedge fund. Many on Wall Street have speculated that Highflyer shorted NVIDIA stock prior to the press release, that this entire escapade has been designed to maximize the profit of this trading strategy. And why is this such a big deal? The other improvement is how good the reasoning capability of this model is and how it was built. Integrating creative applications of a type of machine learning called reinforcement learning. How much did this second process cost? If the first cost about 5.3 mil. We don't really know that part because the R1 paper only really alludes to thousands of steps for R10, which is the initial version of the model, not the model they released. The V3 base paper, the one that explores these efficiency gains, suggests that a precursor model was only $10,000 for the post-training process. Unfortunately, we don't really know how long the second phase was run. Where this story gets another angle is that in the process of going from their initial model, serious improvements were unlocked by seemingly very little compute by using the outputs of a third model. Some people actually think that it was OpenAI's O1 model and that the DeepSeek team stole this data. This introduces us to the current act of this drama, with OpenAI claiming intellectual property theft from unauthorized use of their data. The irony of this is almost unbelievable, with OpenAI having a deep history of criticism for unapproved use of the data of writers, artists, and others, including the New York Times. So what's next for AI? I'd expect that US AI companies are going to see a substantial improvement in their performance. They're going to take these tricks and apply them to their own models. Leading on from the third model drama, we can expect to see models across the board start to double down on their intelligence, improving their base performance by feeding in the outputs of their previous generation models. Given resource constraints, we might expect to see the efficiencies of these AI labs to improve, or them to try and squeeze even more out of their GPU clusters. All in all, it's really unclear what the demand for NVIDIA chips will be, but can't imagine it'll be too different. we should expect to see these kinds of research innovations made public thanks to the open source movement. Ultimately, this push towards efficiency means that AI will get better and cheaper over the long run. This is really critical because it unlocks the next chapter of the AI story, where we start to see the dawn of AI agents. With cheaper, better LLMs, agents become both technically feasible and economically viable. I know this because we recently started on the journey of building our own team of agents, made up of AI data engineers, AI data scientists, solution architects, scrum masters. We found that the state of AI is now so advanced that leveraging our platform and some of the structure that we've built along the way, we've got line of sight where these agents are capable of building bespoke analytics at scale.